Good morning and welcome to another lovely Tuesday. Today at acysecurities I am looking at a few different things, but overnight I've had a bit of focus on a number of different markets. The first one to look at is at US stocks and the S&P 500. US stocks did climb up again last night, and the focus on the S&P 500 has gotten to its extremes. It's nearly reached the highs that it saw in February this year. So overall, since the big downturn we saw in March, that's a 50% gain just in the last few months. Now, surprisingly, what we're looking at here again is the tech stocks running supreme. They're really ruling the roost at the moment and pushing prices right up, with 1/3 of the gains being seen in Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet. Of course, it is quite broad-based. We have still 2/3 of other stocks within the S&P 500 growing in their respective values. Now, I've heard some interesting reports of analysts expecting to see prices reach $3,500 mark and above. Now, I'm not skeptical that it won't happen. I'm not exactly ready to place my own short positions in there yet, but I am starting to get a little bit concerned about the idea of it being a little bit overheated. From what I'm seeing at the moment, we have low rates, easy monetary policy, and bucket loads of stimulus all supporting the drives. However, for me, there's nowhere in between to sort of have a look at. And I feel that unless we look at what's going on with the Republicans and the Democrats and the next lot of stimulus that is about to be coming in, if they don't make a deal before the end of September, then we might see a little bit of stagnation happening and perhaps some subdued results for the S&P 500. A lot of investors are relying on that stimulus money to come in to help prop up the economy even more. Now, of course, a lot of that stimulus ends up going into the stock market and equities of all kinds. So now we're keeping an eye on what's happening there. And that is why we aren't seeing the prices tap through those highs that we saw in February. Instead, we're just seeing them hover right in around it. So hopefully we do see some more stimulus come in and we do get some more gains coming on it. I wouldn't be prepared to bet against the S&P 500 just yet. Now, in addition to all of that, I've been looking at another interesting market. Your Asian markets or your Southeast Asian stock markets have not been performing as well. And if we look at the MSCI ASEAN, we see that they have actually had a 19% fall this year. Now, comparative to the Western side that we see in the S&P, the ASX, and the variety of other markets that are out there, we're seeing that whilst they're all getting rises, the ASEAN ones are not doing quite as well. And I've had a closer look, and I'm guilty of not looking at their markets, those Southeast Asian stock markets, as regularly as I should be. But I've found out a little bit of information. I've looked at what's going on, I've looked at what they're comprised of, and it's really got to do with their lack of tech stocks and telecommunication stocks. All up, if you have their tech stocks and telecommunication stocks in the MSCI ASEAN, you will see that they really only make up close to about 10%. Now, if you take out the telecommunications, then you end up with something sitting at a 0.8% figure. So therefore, the rise that we're seeing now, you really can look at being an idea of it's coming completely from the telecommunications side of things. Now, regardless of all that, I am interested to see what comes next. Naturally, US stocks are up, Chinese stocks are up, and we've got all these telecommunications and pandemic-led companies and tech stocks all going with it. What happens when we do get a vaccine though? Now, whilst the general consensus of equity markets is that they reflect what we see about the economy several months down the track, when it comes to this, I'm in two minds about it. If I think about the idea of a vaccine coming into play and that we get one that is mass-produced, readily available, and of course viable and actually works, then we do have a very different world. We'll likely see a shift in markets across the board. What do I mean by that shift? I mean, as in people are going to be investing in different things to what they are right now. All the way throughout the pandemic, we've been looking at this idea of, okay, if we are to invest, we need to invest in the things that are going to be supported by the idea of working from home or perhaps purchasing things online. Whichever way you want to look at it, we've been focusing on those sort of areas. And primarily, that's been in tech stocks and telecommunications. And of course, health industry and the health sector as a whole. Now, if we go into the other side of what's happening after this, and we do get a vaccine that comes out, then we're going to probably see this shift moving away from where we've been putting all our funds throughout the pandemic towards those old cyclical stocks that we used to look at. We're going to be looking at things in the finance sector. We're going to be looking at health sector and tech stocks still, but we're going to be looking at the old style things, retail, the things that come through every year that we've been able to consistently look at regularly. We're also going to see things in safe havens hit a bit of a tumble. We might see gold prices be moved away and things move back towards bonds. Or we might see investors generally trying to diversify their positions a lot more than what they have been. So hopefully we do start to see some of those. But those are some thoughts for you to think about for the upcoming week. Now, for the week ahead, I am looking at what's going to be happening the most between the Republicans and the Democrats, wanting to see how this stimulus bill, or at least the agreement between them, starts to carry out. So that's my main focus. The next focus is I'm going to be looking at what's happening in Japan and how the Japanese yen is going to be able to support what's going on with some important data coming out later this week. Now, if there's anything from today's video or perhaps some of my other videos, feel free to get in contact with me and shoot me an email at talktoal@acy.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so you can get more great content from me and ACY Securities in the future. Have a great trading day ahead.